Hello, this is Jamie White, and today I bring you another Supplier Diversity and Small Business Economic Impact Report. For today's weekly segment, um, the big news here, and I'm pretty sure you've heard about it now as I'm doing this later than usual, but uh, President Trump and the Democrats have reached a deal to temporarily end the shutdown. This is good news, not great news, but this is better than where we were at yesterday. So, for everybody who had a bet that the government was going to open on day 35, congratulations, you've won. Congratulations, you've won. Now, the key here is that the temporary deal will essentially reopen the government for 3 weeks. I think the big news out of this, unfortunately, is that neither side, or they still haven't reached a consensus on where to move forward when it comes to building the wall. So that 5.7 million, a billion, excuse me. So the Democrats had still said that even though the government is being reopened for the next 3 weeks, they still don't plan on giving in on the 5.7 billion dollar wall. And President Trump is holding steadfast, saying that he wants the funding for the wall. This is to be completely honest, this is honestly pretty unfortunate as we go to uh, the next article. But I think that the key reason why this is really unfortunate is the fact that after 35 days of uh, of a government shutdown, essentially President Trump accepted the deal that was proposed to him on December 22nd. So before the government was shut down. So essentially, we're looking at a loss of. Well, we'll find out in the next quarter. I don't want to make any huge uh, prediction or anything, but we're probably looking at a loss of economic productivity for a situation that we could have avoided, over a month ago. Now I understand that nobody can see into the future or anything, so we I'm sure President Trump thought that he could get a better deal. That's why he did this. But it turns out he could not for this time, and it's most likely going to have a negative effect on our economy. And we're also going to have to revisit this issue come mid-February, February 15th, I believe, which is how long the government is now open for both Democrats and Republicans to negotiate on funding for a wall that Democrats have said that they're not going to fund, and Republicans have said that they absolutely need the funding, or we're going to get into the situation again. So, a temporary positive for federal workers. Unfortunately, I see this happening once again. Now, the big reason why the government has reopened, and I think it's in this article. Can't remember which article it was in, but essentially, um, because the government was shut down, we were starting to have real issues when it came to uh, to airport flights. So what that means is that flights were getting delayed. Um, we were really having a big issue when it came to that. So based off the articles that I was reading, obviously the 800,000 workers and getting them paid obviously is a problem, in particular to our economic impact. However, the big reason is that everyday um, everyday things such as like hopping on a plane, getting from point A to point B, were being disrupted. So, as well as obviously, polls have come back showing that the majority of Americans were blaming Trump for the shutdown. Just caused Trump to decide to make a deal right now. And this is really important. I mean, one of the biggest economic impact events that happens to this country, the Super Bowl, is coming up February 3rd. So could you imagine if the government had been shut down at that time, and we know that they're already having issues with flights? mean, just imagine how much that would have affected uh, the economy, just with that the Super Bowl happening on February 3rd. So they decided to make the deal now. People will recover, finally get paid for work, and then they can essentially move forward from there. But again, this is temporary, and this situation may come up again February 15th. Because of this, as you can see, J.P. Morgan has now said that the economy will grow at less than 2%. So where's the number? The economists slashed their first quarter growth estimates to 1.7% from 2%, citing the shutdown. Now, I do want to point out that the economists have also raised second quarter growth to 2.25% from 2% to account for a bounce back. We'll see how that happens, or if that happens. The reason why I'm saying that is because in addition to this whole decrease in the estimate of the GDP growth, we're also seeing just a global wide slowdown when it comes to the economies. So I know I'm kind of like zipping past through this right now, but currently Wall Street agrees that we are now in the late cycle um, of an economy in terms of its growth period, and they're giving suggestions on how to invest. So as you can see, it has within the economy, you have the early cycle, the mid cycle, the late cycle, and then a recession. Um, Now, obviously, the last recession that we had left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths just because it was the second worst recession since what the modern era, since the Great Recession, or not. It was the second greatest recession since the was it the 1920s, I believe, when we had like Black Tuesday or Black Monday, and all that jazz. So I can't think of the name of it right now. Geez, I apologize for that. But so because of that, when people see recession, that's probably what they're thinking. But to keep, to put perspective to it, it's recessions are a natural part of the economy. All it means is that your growth is not, you're having a declining growth rate, right? So you could still be growing, just not as quickly as you were in the past. And I think will be the 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 way the economy will grow will be slower, but it won't be to the levels of the Great Recession and '08 and '09. Now, I do think that there are, some things that we need to watch out for. In particular, as more and more Americans are utilizing debt specifically to purchase things. I don't think that that's a something that will hit over the next 6 months, but I do think in the next, 10 to 15 years, that is absolutely something we need to watch out for and plan to solve that issue. But when we're talking about this current recession, like this is, it's not going to be like the one we had last time. We'll still be fine. Things will still be growing, and we can move forward from that. Now, last up, again, as you guys know, the last article I provide, I try to show something a little bit different, specifically kind of on a global scale, if I can find something. For this one, it talks about the meeting in Davos. Davos. It talks about aging societies seem posing risks to economy. And this makes sense, right? It really talks about Japan specifically and how they have an aging workforce. With less people obviously working, they're able to produce less, and they're trying to figure out ways to combat that. But the reason why I wanted to show this is because let's see, it's at the very bottom. Just missed it. They're calling it the new climate economy, which they believe is going to create 65 million jobs. But what they're saying here is that they're trying to combat essentially rising temperatures um, throughout, well, not only their country, but they believe that this climate economy is something that obviously is going to affect the entire Earth. So you know creating these type of clean energy type of solutions, and preparing for how to combat pollution, and creating and focusing on a climate economy, they believe will create an entirely different, a new industry, and support new jobs for the future. So I definitely wanted to point that out because I do think that that's interesting. Um, we're already seeing industries such as solar outperform, such as like the gas and oil industry when it comes to new jobs. So they're outpacing, I guess, outpacing, not outperforming. So So this is interesting. It appears, nobody's really. We've had hints of things such as like the Paris Climate Accords, where countries are now looking at making sure that the technology that they create uh, will be clean and not affect the or not harm the earth. So I do think that it's interesting that it appears that this is just gaining more and more steam, and now a country is coming out and saying that this is what we're looking at. So definitely keep that in mind. So with that being said, as always, I really appreciate everybody for stopping by and checking us out and listening to another weekly podcast. As always, please like the video, subscribe, comment, and share with anybody that you think would be interested in this type of news. Again, thank you as always. And with that being said, have a great day.